Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to KHM Today, your bi-monthly resource for industry news and straight up fun. I'm your host, Carolyn Orphan. Today is January 22nd, 2025. Please let me know that you're here. We're so excited to chat with you all today, share with you what's going on in the industry. So, wow, you guys, this has been a crazy and eventful week so far, and it's only Wednesday. We, of course, had Martin Luther King Day on Monday. I hope you enjoyed that time. We have frigid temperatures going across the entire country. And we had the inauguration on Monday, so there was a lot of excitement there. So much going on around the world, but also in our own world. And it is wave season, which I believe is just always like wave tsunami. I don't feel like in the last couple of years there's been any breadth to it. It's just been this like constant wave. But we also opened up Destination Success a mere hour ago, and I'm so excited for that event. It's going to be fantastic, different. So if you have any questions, there's videos posted. You're welcome to email me. We're really, really excited about that event and being able to bring it to all of you. Let's see. Hello, Mandy. Hello, the traveling owl. Who is that? Share your name because I'm not recognizing that name. Sadie, I hope you're well. I hope you're going to be at Crystal or Destination Success this year. And I know Mandy's going to be at boot camp next week. It's going to be just incredible. We've got, 33 agents attending at our new event space at the headquarters. So we're very excited about that. We have so much fun planned, but a lot of connection time and everything. Oh, Michelle, how are you? Now I know who the traveling owl is. So anyways, let's get to it today. It is wave season. Of course, that means cruising. It is beyond popular. And our two guests today are here to talk all about it. Please welcome Mandy Goddard and Walter Biscardi. Woo! If I had an audience, we'd all be clapping for you. Hi, you guys.
Hello.
Thank you so much for taking the time. It is wave season, but I appreciate you guys so much. Let's start first by just kind of saying, how is the year going so far? It's day 22 of 2025. What is this looking like for your business? Mandy, let's start with you.
Cruises are hot. They are still hot. It's not a matter of when. It is now. People want to book now. They are ready to travel. Spring break, less than 2 months away, summer. And I think my last phone conversation today was fall of 26. It's definitely wave season.
Yes. I literally, believe it or not, I got off a call about an hour ago with somebody who asked me about 29. I was like, 29? Yeah, we barely got 27. But I'm getting more and more who are looking at 27 now. They're looking at late 26 into 27 and they're like, hurry up, let's get these itineraries going. I think we're ahead of last year right now. Yeah.
Where did that person want to go in 29?
29, they want to go to Scotland. Yeah.
Okay.
Scotland, either land or sea. And I'm like, I can't help you with that yet.
Yeah. Reach out in 2 years, and then you've got to figure out a way to keep engaged with that client, right? For 2 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I do a lot of what's your 5-year plan? You only have your kids this many years. What is your 5-year plan? And let's put it out on paper, stick it on the refrigerator, and think about, okay, you're going to hit this in 26, this in 27, both kids in college in 28. So let's do Antarctica over Christmas break. Yeah. We are encouraging looking ahead. We might not be able to book, but let's be thinking ahead.
Yeah. Thinking and budgeting, right? Because travel's only going up in price.
Yeah.
So this morning,
that's actually the big reason why they brought up 29, because they're like, we want to start saving money now.
Yep. So this morning on the Today Show, they had a segment on cruising with wave season. Wow. And Craig Melvin, one of my favorites, was like, is this a made up thing? And the guy was like, well, it is. It's made up by the cruise industry, but it just signifies this period of time where it's busy and there happens to be a lot of promotions going out there. So he said 37 million are expected to cruise in 2025. And I'm just going to give a shout out here. the gentleman speaking, and I forgot to write down his name, did promote the use of a travel advisor.
Very good.
He said that they can a lot of times, it's not necessarily beat the price, but it's offer the value and perhaps some extra perks. And that's just because of, that buying power that we all see and benefit from being part of Travel Leaders Network. So let me ask you this. What is your favorite part of cruising?
Go ahead, Mandy.
I love, and don't make me cry, I love to take a family that has a dream and we turn that dream into a cherished memory. That's what makes me sleep at night. That's my favorite part of what I do in the cruising industry. Now, what about me personally during a cruise?
Yeah.
Having something for all of us. We can do a multi-generational trip and have the kids happy with what they're doing. My spouse and I can be having our time or not, and we can have the grandparents having something as well, but still gather as a family at the end of the day and enjoy a dinner together, making those dreams become cherished memories.
What I love is the variety. Cruising is not one thing. Like when you send somebody to Las Vegas, right? Las Vegas is kind of one thing, right? It's a lot of loud, it's a party, it's this, it's that. And if you go to a quiet resort, it's a quiet thing. Well, cruising can be all of that. And it can even be all of that on the same ship, which is kind of cool for me.
Yeah.
So I love that we don't get bored because we pick the ship for the vacation we want. We were just on Explorer Journeys, quiet, relaxed, best food ever. And we had a fabulous time on the Icon of the Seas, completely different, but so much fun. And that's what I love. I love that there's something for everybody.
I will tell you, and those of you that have been on Crystal with me, my favorite part of cruising is dinner.
Yeah.
I love dressing up for dinner and having a cocktail beforehand and then going and having a nice 3 courses. I try to keep it to 3 meal. I love that experience of sitting down at the table and not getting a bill, because it's different than going to dinner out on a weekend.
Yeah.
That is my favorite part. And I think it has everything to do with working at home. And yes, I talk all day long to different people, but it's a different sort of socialization. And I just that's my time to be out of my yoga pants and just
a little bit different.
Be different.
Yeah.
Walter, I want to ask you, so you were quoted in this week's Travel Weekly regarding the ban on TikTok, referencing the amount of business that you've received from it and your plan to move to YouTube. Of course, I feel like that's flip-flopped now because it seems to be available again. But it does make you think, right? These things can come and go. Right. So what's your plan moving forward as far as marketing to clients? Do you plan to kind of keep an even balance now between YouTube and TikTok, or what's your plan moving forward?
Well, in my past life, I used to do social media strategy as part of a marketing and creative. So I've never leaned into one thing. Even though my audiences are small, I've got Threads, I've got Blue Sky, I've got Instagram, I've got TikTok, I've got YouTube. And so I've always kind of spread the message out. Now, about 75-80% of my leads have come from TikTok, and it's been very significant. But my biggest strategy is something that I developed about 5 years ago, and that's strategic partnerships as well. So I use all the bullhorns I can, and I recommend that everybody, it doesn't matter. I think what discourages a lot of people is you're like, I'm only getting 5 views. I'm only getting 10 views. I'm not getting the hearts. It doesn't matter, because you just keep doing it. The audience may start to show up, and all of my stuff is about quality, not quantity. So if I put up a video and only 100 people watch it, but I sell 2 cruises, okay, that's a really good return on investment. So I don't really go for those high numbers. But my strategy moving forward is to actually just keep doing the same thing that I have been doing, which is developing strategic partnerships on YouTube, which help amplify my message. And if the audience still likes me on TikTok, I keep going there. But I make sure I spread it all out. If TikTok went away tomorrow, it would be sad, but it wouldn't kill my business.
Interesting. Mandy, how do you find yourself marketing yourself these days? Or do you?
Most of mine is word of mouth and repeat and referrals. I have Facebook. I did make a TikTok account or TikTok or whatever it's called. Don't really use it. I did finally make an Instagram account, but I'm probably Facebook is all I really use, but most of it is coming from repeat clients or repeat clients that have told their friends. So those relationships we've developed over the years.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mandy, you recently posted on our internal Facebook page a really important message about boundaries and how you have put some of that in place to make sure that your business and family receive the attention that they deserve. So we all know that this is important, but it's really challenging. So can you share some tips that you've gleaned and that you can share with others? Because in theory, it's the message, right? We say it at every event. It's hard to put into practice. So how have you managed to do that as a diamond agent?
I really try to segment my calendar and set time aside of taking no more than maybe 5 preset calls a day. I block half an hour for each client that schedules on my calendar. But then I also save time during the day for those emergency situations or somebody needs to talk right then because they want to get booked. But I really try to keep non-emergency business during the day. If I know I've got kids doing something on a Saturday, I'll block some time. If they're at an event I'm not at, I may block 2 hours on that Saturday morning that I know I can be available for people outside their work week. Or I do one night a week of setting time there. But I really try to be strategic with how I put my time. I had texts coming in after 9 p.m. last night, and I would look at it, it'd wake me up, but it was not an emergency situation. So I waited to respond this morning, and I waited until after 8 a.m. their time zone. They were California. So I really just try to be diligent in conveying that I'm here for you, but I'm going to still set that boundary of instead of waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm in Europe and somebody wants to book a cruise right then.
Right. It almost sounds like if you want to, well, and I've said this before, if you want to work with me, I'm that good. Please wait for me. I'm not asking you to wait 2 weeks.
Right.
I'm asking you to wait until my business hours.
Right.
Yeah. Walter, sort of, have you been able to set boundaries at all, or?
No.
It's important to be honest about that.
No, it is. I mean, people asked, I have had, a lot of really nice agents reach out to me offline, both within KHM and others, and ask me, like, how many hours do you work? And I said, I don't know. I do work extremely late. Look, I'm coming from a place where I was out of work for 18 months. Okay. And, we kind of went into a little bit of a hole with a 401k. And so we're still digging out of a hole. And so my only speed is the pedal is all the way down at all times. Doesn't matter how much work we have. Like, we didn't need to launch another group cruise last night, but we did. Just because, I'm a very odd duck in that I will run from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. and then I'll just crash. And that's not going to continue. I'm hoping this is the last year. We are talking about trying to bring in somebody now and try to set some boundaries to help with that. But right now, I kind of have that fear pushing me forward going, I've got to get out of this hole and we got to go and we're just going to go. And right now, it's working. Fortunately, I have tremendous systems in place that I've used for years, and they translated beautifully from television production right over to travel.
Well, and you know what, Walter, it's a real fear and it's a valid fear. And, I think a lot of us can relate to that. Mandy and I were just talking about sending kids off to school. Every time there's a booking, there is this, okay, that's this paid for and that's this paid for. It is very, it's fulfilling. You also, you just kind of have to make sure that you're staying sane.
And I'll tack on to what Walter said about coming out of that hole.
Where did everyone go?
You're back. That whole, I think of the pandemic, what was the one industry that was targeted? The cruise industry, and being 100% cruises and then being married to an airline guy. So I was 100% cruises, and I held steadfast and loyal and, fought for my clients and the refunds and the future cruise credits and looking ahead and giving sound guidance. But then I also had a husband that took 9 months of leave from the airline and a 50% pay cut. So we really had to make things work, and we're finally coming back now that cruising is back. He's back, and now, like you said, have a kid ready to go to college this fall.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so you guys were telling me before we went live that you work better on a cruise ship. Yeah. That does not work for me, because I want to be.
I work better at home. Mandy definitely worked better. I like the convenience of I'll take another old fashioned, or I'll take another coffee. I love that. But I don't have my walls. I have everybody knows about my boards now, apparently, but I have my big boards, and I feel naked without my boards.
So how does that work for you, Mandy? How do you not be distracted, and how do you get the experience and the vibe of the cruise? Because you're going on these to test drive the product. Yeah. You're not always there for vacation. I would say 90% of what you're doing is usually business related.
Right.
So I would say doing that while you work.
If it's getting up and sitting out on a balcony with the fresh air, it's invigorating. When I look at the wake behind the ship, I have a peace, a calmness. I can really focus on if I'm going to get an email done over breakfast, especially if I'm not on a cruise with somebody else, like a family member. Any other agent that's cruised with me, they know I work, and they understand if I'm sitting at breakfast and have the iPad and I'm answering some emails, that's normal. We're chatting and I've got everything going there. But you just don't have all the other things, to work on, like this, whether it's you're taking your kid to school, or, oh crap, I forgot to pick the kid up from school, which happens if I don't have the alarm set. You have those extra stressors off the table, and you're able to focus on what you need to get done. But everything that you're looking at, that you're tasting, that you're experiencing is adding to what you're working on. And you make a random post about a game show you're sitting in on, and somebody wants to book that cruise, or hey, I went to Mamma Mia and it was great. Oh my gosh, what ship is Mamma Mia on? I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to book the Allure. Here's why. So
tell me, there's so much change constantly in the industry and from ship to ship. What are some of the best resources you've found to stay on top of things outside of getting on a ship? Because that's not reality for many people.
I would say some of the really good vloggers out there, like the ones who don't sensationalize, that actually give you a good look. Like I've been friends with Tony at La Lita Loca. I love Gary Bembridge at Tips for Travelers. Like people that actually go on and they give you straight up advice. They don't try to sensationalize. I think that's one of my best ways to kind of keep up. Plus, even though it's not a great news resource, Cruise Hive and then Cruise Industry News. Those are the two that I read a lot.
And I'm still old school. Having taken my first cruise in 2000, back then, before any social media, there is still a website called Cruise Critic. And, you're more anonymous. You're in the forums. You don't have to join how many different private Facebook groups to learn information, or have these mods that you can't even breathe a word that you love cruising, because people might look at your profile and figure out that you're an agent. But with Cruise Critic, it was very transparent, and you could be anonymous and jump from any cruise line to cruise line, read the reviews, ask the questions in the forums. You could search somebody's name, like, hey, they had a really good answer about that, and they mentioned that they've been on such and such ship. You can click on their profile and then go see other things they've done. So I still actually use that 25 years later, even in it's it doesn't have the walls that Facebook private groups have.
Right. Right.
I love
And
that.
we still use it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a great resource if you kind of read between the lines on some stuff.
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
what you just said is my favorite part. You don't have to join all these stupid groups just to see
Mhm.
stuff.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Have you seen your businesses grow and change? I know, Walter, you mentioned, and I saw this on Facebook, that you were recently on the Explorer, which is different from mainstream
Oh,
cruising, and I
wow.
believe they had to drag you off that ship.
They
Are you
did.
seeing your businesses shift towards some of away from maybe the mainstream and hitting some of the rivers, maybe the expedition? Are you seeing some of that happen?
Well, for me, I'm definitely seeing clients who are tired of nickel and diming, which,
Mhm. Of course.
a lot of cruise lines, right? And Mandy, I'm sure you're going to talk
Yeah.
about that as well. But now they want value. And now
Mhm.
they understand, well, maybe if I spend 500 more or even sometimes 1,000 more, now I'm actually saving money than if I go on this ship and I mean, $100 and something a day for a drinks package per person on Royal Caribbean. That's like $1,400 for 7-day cruise. And that's only drinks. That doesn't have anything to do with Wi-Fi so
Mhm.
yeah. And Explora, since you mentioned them, they're being very aggressive with their pricing, where a junior suite on some Royal Caribbean cruises is equal to Explora. That's all included. So yeah, I'm trying to grow my luxury business to about 40% of sales by the end of this year. And having options like Explorer, like Oceana, it's not so much luxury. They're just looking for that value. Like Virgin Voyages has always been a high seller for me just because, and Princess, because Princess has plus. But when you
Right.
put something that's a cruise fare and you put something has included, you're like, oh yeah, I'm getting a lot of value for this.
Mhm.
It's really value.
Mandy, are you seeing that as well?
I am definitely. It's funny. One of my clients that's in Michigan, we were having the discussion online with each other that he said, he's like, I'm looking at Japan, and we were looking at Japan, I believe, for 27. And he's like, what's your favorite? And I said, well, here's what I've done. If you're looking at the mass market, and I love, the how it had a lot of both Japanese and English on board that specific ship, and how they did it so well to really immerse you in the culture. But I know he's moved over the last 10 years from being more mass market to more small ship, all inclusive, not having to think about as much. And I said, I'm hoping this particular line does Japan, because I think it's one you might like, just knowing what his style is over the years
Yeah.
and being able to grow with him. And, now that I'm in my 50s, people, the way I cruise in my 50s is a little bit different from in my 20s. Or my husband,
Yeah.
he'll still be happy getting an inside room,
Yeah.
but I've changed a little bit. I do like a little bit of more of the luxury, because if you get, star class on Royal Caribbean, you've got it all laid out there for you.
Right. Right. And I
It,
kind of find that I'm kind of broaching. Like I had a client who came to me for one thing and I said, well, have you seen Explora? Have you kind of looked at them?
yeah.
And like the next day he comes back, he's like, oh my God, yes, yes.
Right.
And so this is, I mean, there's so many different directions to go with this conversation, because I just think it's so interesting that, well,
Well,
what I
and you got
picked up
me and
from what,
Mandy. So how long are we on
Go
today?
for it.
hey, look, there's a reason that you two are on here. What I loved about what Mandy said and what Walter, you cemented, was the listening component, the real, and also getting to know you as a client. This is where you were, and this is where I think you might want to go. And then they have the choice, right? If you're not offering it, they don't have the opportunity to say no.
Right.
But I think, gosh, how wonderful does that sound to the client when you're able to say, well, this is what you've done in the past, but I've
Right.
also heard a few of these keywords as we've been talking. And to me, that really says this.
Mhm.
And then let them make the decision.
Yeah.
You know,
And even on the
we don't.
first time, a lot of my first time clients will come to me and I want to go on Celebrity. I want to go on Royal. I want to go on Princess. And we have that whole conversation. And then I come back to them with, yeah, here's your Princess, but have you seen Virgin? Have you
Mhm.
seen Explorer? Have you seen Oceana? You sprinkle some of that into, even if they don't book it that time, it's now a seed that's planted in the back of their
Right,
mind for later.
right. I've been using the words a lot. Why? That can get annoying though, because remember, that's kind of like when you're 2-year-old in the seat behind you in the car, and you're like, why,
Right.
why? And tell me more.
Right.
Tell me
Yeah.
more, like opens up the floodgates. I had a call yesterday with someone, and I said, well, why Ireland? You know, yes, this is your last name and it is Irish, but why Ireland?
Yeah.
And she actually stopped for a second and had to think about, why did we decide on this? And then it started a really fantastic conversation.
Well, and
okay.
where you came from that, Carolyn, my 12 o'clock call today was with the first time cruiser. And she said, I've only done an all-inclusive. So I'm like, tell me about the all-inclusive experiences you've had. What did you enjoy about it? What would you and the kids do during the day? And even though I'm 100% cruises, I have visited about 50 properties of all-inclusives and stayed in them in, 4 different countries. But it gives me an idea of how to take that transition that we can go from, you've done all-inclusives, you're looking at that very first cruise. You don't want to fly anywhere because of flight prices, and you want to drive to Galveston. What options do we have out of Galveston that might meet the quality yet remain in the budget for your family of 5, which is even more challenging, as we know, on cruise ships, because the number of rooms for 5 or more are very limited without the suite level. So then we start looking at piecing together, hey, how can we make this mathematically work?
Right.
Are you guys ever surprised by the bedding on family-friendly ships? Or is this just me? And when I say that, like, family-friendly to me is, hey, can everyone have their own bed if they want it? And so many times it's, no, you got to share the double sofa. You got to share this. You got to share that. And I don't know about you, but there was definitely a point in time where the kids could not share anymore. And it didn't matter that they were a boy and a girl. It was, they're just too big for this anymore. So it was almost this like, well, you got to do 2 rooms now. Does any of that surprise you? Do you ever have that pushback? Like, seriously, why is it that way?
I mean, once they become teenagers, and I ask them like, how tall are they? I'm like, you really want 2 rooms? And I push the bathroom angle. I'm like, look, all 5 of you with 1 bathroom. Seriously, are you really going to do this for a week? And that usually they're like, oh, I didn't think about the bathroom. I'm like, yeah. So that's my trick to try to get them into 2 rooms at the bathroom.
Yeah. Mandy, before we started the show, and this is how we'll finish it off, you had some wonderful drinks there. What is your favorite drink on any cruise ship?
Well, that makes that hard because they all have something unique. I will say I always take a water bottle so I can use the water refilling stations, which are complimentary around the ship. So it doesn't cost me anything. It's helping me stay hydrated and offsetting any other things. But if it's a Royal Caribbean ship, my first go-to drink is the blue Curacao Cosmo. And
guys, look how she's so prepared. She has it with her.
Yes. Valerie would know that very well with me. That's our first thing. If it's let's say a cruise in Norwegian, I love the mojitos because they have a great mojito bar. Some of the cruise lines have they have the painkillers, and that's how I really test a cruise line is, are they legit on their painkillers? Does it have that fresh ground nutmeg? So painkillers are made in, or were concocted in the British Virgin Islands with Pusser's rum. And whenever I see a bar that's not using Pussers, I'm like, what are you using? Oh, we're doing more sustainable. We're doing this from Guatemala or Nicaragua or somewhere. I'm like, that's not Pussers. That's not the same. If I'm in a rocking chair or at the bar at the Mason Jar, they have some great drinks in the Mason Jar on the Royal Caribbean ships. I think that's my first lunch on Utopia after Crystal. But if you're on a river cruise and you're on the Danube River going through Austria, the apricots are a big thing. So you might have something where you can take a quick shot from that and bring it home and still say, I need to drink that still. So
Yep. In Europe, I am an Aperol Spritz girl all the way.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where in Europe, maybe not like the UK, but
That's good.
I love a good Aperol spritz. I
Right.
just think it puts me so in destination. Doesn't
Yes.
matter if it's hot or cold. Does
Yeah.
not matter if it's hot or cold. I will still drink an Aperol spritz.
Well, and the funny
Walter.
thing, Walter was just on Virgin, right? And my
Yes.
go-to drink on Virgin is at the Dock House on Embarkation Day. I order a sangria or a pitcher. The last time I did order a pitcher and told my husband he had to
Nice.
help me. And
Nice.
that's my go-to drink on Virgin for kicking off. I'm back on board. This is what I want on this ship. So I am very
Yeah, they
cruise
make good
line
drink.
specific of what I like.
Yeah. And
I will-
Walter, what's your go-to?
Well, my go-to on every ship is an old fashioned because it's such an easy drink to make, but it's so easy to mess it up. And the best one is the world-class bar on Celebrity. They
Yes.
still make the best one. Although I had an old sport on the Valiant Lady a few weeks ago. I do make my own with Glenfiddich here. I'll do a sip on. No, I'm just kidding. And then you know what really surprised me on Icon? The espresso martini really surprised me with how
Yes.
good that was. But and my favorite thing that I have come across recently was on Explorer 2. When I asked for a coffee, they asked me what kind of beans would I like, and I actually did a double take and said, "What did you just say?" I said, "What kind of beans would
Really?
you like?" Because they have Brazil, Guatemala, and house blend, and so I got a flight,
Wow.
a macchiato flight, to try them all, and that Brazilian will just like take the hair right
Yeah.
off of you. It's so amazing. So
Wow.
that was my coolest find, and now Explorer is my favorite cruise line ever, just for that.
Well, and
I am-
Carolyn, we have people ready to book the drink package before they've paid the deposit on the cruise.
Right.
And that's a huge part of conversation. So if we don't know the Princess Plus versus the Holland American
Man.
Have It All versus
Princess
what
Plus
is the
is
Carnival
awesome.
package right now and everything, we have to have every aspect of cruising, under our belt, or we don't know what we're talking about. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
go Google it. I got to know it.
Especially those
Gotta
packages.
know it. Yep.
Gotta know it.
Well, and that's why I'm big on those consultation calls, setting
Yep.
it up, having a little bit of background so I can come prepared to those calls and not just be winging it, because usually when I wing it, doesn't go so well. So I like to be prepared. I mean, I can speak off the cuff, but there's just something about making sure that you're asking all the right questions.
Yes.
That just is important, and that's why people keep coming back.
Which, by the way, we have a whole questionnaire that I don't ask every question, but we have a whole
Mhm.
questionnaire laid out that when I'm on the phone with somebody, I'm checking down that whole, it's not something
It's
in
a
my head.
guide.
It's
Yep.
physically
It's-
there, and it's in their trip. Like it's the intake right there.
hmm
Mhm.
I love it. You guys, thank you so much for
That's
spending
it?
time with
Wow,
me
that was
today.
quick.
That's it. Well, we like to keep it at 30 minutes just because
Wow.
everyone's busy but we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And look at all the interaction you guys got.
Yeah.
Hey, we got
Hey.
Maria is in Rome.
Oh, a limoncello
Maureen.
spritz.
Spritz. Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh,
I
Maureen,
like
I hope you're doing well. It's been a while since we chatted. Yeah,
Do something with the
limoncello
coffee
spritz.
liqueur
Mm.
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have to say, a lot of our agents drink those espresso martinis on the ships. I don't know how everyone isn't just awake all night. I mean, I can't do that. I
I can
cannot
do an
that.
espresso and then go to bed. It's so
Yeah.
silly.
Right.
It's so silly. Yeah.
You guys, thank you so much for being here. All of our viewers today, thank you so much. And thanks to
Cheers,
our
Mandy.
sponsors that continue to
Cheers,
support
Carolyn.
us. Cheers. I only have my Diet Pepsi. Cheers. Looking for some sponsorship there. There, my business strategic partnership.
Nice.
Next show, you guys, is February 5th. And guess who's coming?
Oh.
Marcus Williams and Wanda
Yay.
Thomas will be here. So we are talking about business branding with two of the best. And the fact that everyone loves to travel with these two. So I'm always curious about that. And so please join us back here February 5th. For those of you that are joining us for Boot Camp 2.0, I'll see you on Tuesday. Mandy, Walter, thank you. Adore you
Thank you.
both.